We're excited about. It's never an easy time at the end of the year when we meet and go through those difficult decisions, but it's about looking forward. And I think starting off with Bill Lazor, it's been exciting in the last couple of weeks. Being able to go through the scheme eval and go through some things and get some ideas and his background of where he's been at as a coordinator and his expertise with that. We have a relationship that goes back several years, so that part was good. John DeFilippo, again, we go the whole way back to college. We were quarterbacks against each other and competed, and him coming in here, I have a lot of respect for him as a quarterback coach. Moving Dave Ragone to pass game coordinator is, I think, really, really good for Dave and his growth in this league. I'm big on having guys grow through us, and so that'll be a unique opportunity for him. Clancy Barone coming in as tight ends coach, and then Juan Castillo, who I was with in Philadelphia. So excited about those. We can talk more in depth later, but I just wanted to update you all from last time that we talked in Chicago. And all that, I couldn't disagree with that more. I think that for us, there's a lot of great ideas. For me as a head coach, what I'm trying to do is I want to become the best possible head coach I can be. And by doing that, having guys around me that I can delegate and give things to is important. So whether we don't have the run game coordinator title, but we have guys in Juan Castillo, Clancy Barone has a great background in that. Bill Lazor can oversee really everything. So, we're all having great ideas. John DeFilippo was the coordinator. So I'm just trying to use all of those and balance how that works together. But I'm doing a lot of listening, and I think now's the time to do that so we can collaborate, figure out what went wrong last year, and let's fix it. Let's be about solutions.
Now, you have a lot of guys that have experience calling away.
Yeah.
Just to clarify, you plan on continuing calling?
Yeah, I'll be calling the plays, and we do have a lot of guys that have called plays, and so for me, y'all don't get to see it because you're not in the meetings with us, but a lot of times we'll talk through, why would you make this call or that call, and that's growth in myself too as a play caller. I learned a lot last year in so many different ways, on and off the field as a head coach. I learned a lot as a play caller with players, how they work, with scheme, with coaches.
I feel Juan Castillo brings to the run game and his expertise.
Well, there's a big first of all, his experience, he's been doing this a long time. I can remember my first year in my first role in Philadelphia, just the amount of conversations that we had, whether it was a run game, pass protection, blitzes that people are bringing. His expertise in football is second to none, and so I have a lot of respect for him and how he does things. Just the last several weeks that we've been together talking scheme-wise, it feels really good. I appreciate a lot of simplicity of where he's at and the consistency too. So it'll be fun to get going on that.
With Flip, what do you see as his strengths and what are your visions for him?
Yeah, he's had a really cool path as well. He's again worked his way in this league for a long time as a quarterback coach, then went on to be a coordinator, and now he's at a point where we've always talked about working together. And so what I see with him is somebody. And to each their own, but he's a guy that comes in as a quarterback coach that there's going to be real big with drill work, with fundamentals, with really seeing the field. And we talked about with Mitch with processing and being able to understand that. He's an expert at that. And that's no slight to Dave because Dave's in a great role now of schematically in the passing game. But sometimes, for all of us, if you hear a new voice, sometimes it can help. And I think that Flip I like his aggressiveness as a teacher, and you guys are going to see that in camp. You're going to take notice of that. Just the way he teaches. I mean, I think that sometimes with all different positions, I'm not just saying the quarterback, but with all different positions, you can say, okay, we're going to take the gloves off, right? And we're going to get at it now. And I think that Flip in his DNA has that. And you'll see that. You'll take those. Yeah, well, we're doing that now in the off season with the blend. So taking different ideas. We're thick in the matter of fact, and we're getting together here in a few hours to even get at it more. So scheme-wise, what did we do well last year as a team offensively? We know we struggled in a lot of different areas, but we're about fixing it. Okay, if we're okay with what we did last year, then we're in the wrong place, and we're not. So we gotta fix things. And so how do we do that? Well, we get good minds together that talk it through. We're real with each other. This wasn't a good play. This wasn't about the players. This was about the coaches, right? right? And when you can do that and show accountability, then you continue to build that trust. And so our goal is to be a lot better offensively. And if that's less is more, then great. And whatever that is, we'll work through that the whole way to training camp with all those coaches. It is, but just like most staffs too, there's a lot of input on game day, on where you're at, where you're going, and so the trust is there, and I'm fired up about it.
I think we asked you like 100 times last year about identity.
Yeah,
that's the buzzword. But I mean, how important is it to really figure out early on what you guys are as an offense?
Probably, Jeff, I think that the word identity, you hit it right on the head. As we go through this offseason right now, we need to figure out offensively what is our identity. And I think more specifically, too, in the run game, we struggled there in the run game. And so we got to figure out what our identity is, and that's going to be an objective for us. And then last year, as you heard me say, sometimes it takes 5 or 6 weeks. I feel like personally, that's always the case, but I think there's a sense of urgency for us going into this year. It needs to happen sooner. We had, at the end of the exit interviews that we had, with those guys, I mean, I meet with every single player and every single coach, and you can get some valuable time with them and spend some time with Mitchell and him understanding us, basically just talking through what he needs to do here in that time that we're not allowed to be together. And the one thing that he is able to do is get onto the film on his own and really hammer through what he's looking at now. I think that for him, the processing part is what you have to get to a point to where you're so obsessed that no matter what you're doing, you're always watching film. I mean, we're at a point now where, hey, in these next several months before they get back in here, April 20th or whatever that is, he's a complete expert at knowing he needs to know it better than me. And I think that's the goal. And he'll tell you that wasn't the case last year. That's not a slight on him. He's in year 2 of it. But I want him to make sure that that's where he gets to.
The guy who talks about, he doesn't have a life outside football.
Yeah.
He's a football guy. What is the disconnect from this really does matter to him, but it's not second.
Right. Just I think some more direction in regards to the process. And when I say that is he is young still, and I know we keep saying that, but he is. But you also now you give direction, and now he needs to follow it, and that's going to be what we're really focused on is making sure that he does that. And don't worry about results. Who cares? Worry about the process. And if he does that, we'll be in good shape.
Coach, this time last year, David Montgomery had a reputation for being a durable workhorse with 3-down capability. Is he a player that needs to see 300 touches this year to be the guy that you all thought he would be?
Well, I think like most players, the more touches you get, and you saw some of that last year, the more comfortable they get. It's like a shooter. The more they shoot, the more rhythm they get into. He's a very talented kid. I love his hunger. We talked every year last year about how much he learned each week in practice of what this long season was about. He can do a lot of different things, and we know what his strengths are. We know what his weaknesses are. Could we have helped him last year with getting him the ball more? Yes, absolutely. That's part of the identity. And so what we're going to do is focus in, number one, on as a staff, schematically, how can we get better? And if we start with that, then we can worry about the players. I know that right now I feel very good with the players that we have, and we all need to, everybody, starting with me, need to be a lot better.
What traits are you looking for in a second quarterback? I know you and Chase went back a number of years. You're sort of like a second coach. If he is no longer that second quarterback, what are you looking for there?
Just I think in that position, and we're working through all that right now because it's that time. You look for leadership, you look for playmakers, and it's like anytime you have the quarterback position, everybody always talks about accuracy and decision making. But they're all a little bit different, and they all have their strengths and weaknesses.
What type of competition would you like to see at that position? Ryan mentioned it. Yeah.
And we say, and I know Ryan said it, but any type of competition that we can have that pushes whoever's in front of them is what we want. So I want whatever it is. Now it's hard because of when you're in this process now of who they are and that sort of thing to answer that. But we love competition. If you're not creating competition around your whole roster, you're not pushing your own guys. So it's hard to answer that question.
Matt, do you want Mitch to feel like he's being challenged for the starting job?
Yeah, I want everybody to feel that way. If you don't, you feel content, then you play content. You don't have that chip. I think everybody on our team, and I had a lot of different individual talks with players, and I'm not going to get into who they are or where they're at, but there's some guys and they know who they are, that can play with more of a chip on their shoulder, and that's the part to me that going into this year, I want to see if they have that chip.
Coach, why did it
What do
take
you
so long
expect from your offensive line in the offseason and beyond regular season? And what is the impact that Juan Castillo is going to have with the offensive?
So to answer your second question, Coach Castillo, here's the best part of him is he pushes you like none other. So when you get out to practice and you see how hard he works these guys, he's going to push them to their brink. But at the same time, they're going to know that he fall on a sword for him, right? And I think that you feel that. I've witnessed it. I've witnessed it in practices. I've witnessed it, in meeting rooms, and that's very important for those guys. So they'll come back. This will be our third year together, and we know that again, even in those positions, we're going to have some competition rolling.
Do you consider changing your overall scheme at all relative to the first day you walked in?
Absolutely, yeah. Whatever we need to do. You want to do that. And so now that I've had 2 years with this personnel and kind of building it and knowing who we are, it's so much easier to watch scheme eval and know what this guy does well, his weaknesses and his strengths. And so now with that, it's not fair to force them into something that I do. Now, if you can get some of it that you do well, let's keep it going. But this is a clean slate, and we want to make sure that we give everybody the best opportunity. I do, and when you say unwavering, you're coming down here. This will be his going into his fourth year, and for us, if we all think that that's what we want from him from last year, then we're fooling ourselves. He knows that, we know that, but at the same time, we need to be real. What's around him, and that's where we're at. And I know it's hard sometimes for all of us to understand that, and you see what's going on, with the instant gratification now. But there is a process for us, and so now I do know that Mitch is very hungry. He understands that we want him to play better. He understands that we want to coach better. So now we cannot worry and dwell about what happened last year. If you do that, you get stuck in mud. We can't do it. It's clean slate, and now we got to get better for this year.
Chase was not necessarily a starter.
Right.
Is there an understanding that could be a different scenario this year based on
I'm sure there is, but again, I think that it was different with Chase coming in regards to really knowing our offense and becoming a little bit of an assistant coach as well. But every situation, every year, every team is different. So whatever it is, just looking for competition from everybody, I think brings the best out of them. So I hope he would be.
To the point where you say, you know what, maybe I do have to change things a little bit to accommodate the personnel I have?
Well, a couple things here, Jeff. So to me, that's the fun part, is making sure that you're able to do that. Now, the one thing don't lose on Coach Reid is Coach Reid in Philadelphia ran a true West Coast offense. Not running that anymore. So he's been changing, right? And so being able to change to your personnel, when we had Alex Smith, we brought in a lot of the RPO stuff, and so now he's got Patrick, and they're doing their things, and so to each their own, and it worked. But that also took a little bit of time, right? I remember coming in 2013 in Kansas City. The year before they were 2-14, and it took time. And now 7-8 years later is a Super Bowl. But there's a foundation there of players that has been created over time, and that offense is not the same than what it was when I was there 2 years ago. So that's fun. And now having new ideas from new offensive coaches and what they have, I got to tell you, I'm absolutely loving it.
What changed from your tight end this season? Obviously, the injuries.
Yeah, so with the guys that we had, last year, and with the guys this year with Trey and Shaheen, it's just the availability, and there was a struggle for them. So we want to continue. We want to make sure that that U tight end, we like looking for a guy with mismatches. That's the word that everybody uses with that U tight end, but having the ability to do some blocking as well. So that's a point of emphasis for us. You saw we signed Demetrius the other day. He's well-rounded, can do a lot of different things. At the same time, he knows this offense, the terminology, the verbiage. So he's excited. We're excited, but that's certainly an area that we want to get better statistically for sure. It's big for us.